Hi team, Coach Azza here, back with you for a very special ViPR edition of Exercise Explored. Now with Exercise Explored, we've been looking and uncovering and exploring and expanding our knowledge and our creativity on a bunch of exercises. But today we're going to focus specifically with ViPR, and we're going to focus on a specific movement with ViPR. It's a ViPR classic. And we're going to be today looking at Exercise Explored with the ViPR Lunge and Uppercut. So the ViPR Lunge and Uppercut, what is a lunge uppercut? It looks like this. So it's a fantastic whole body exercise that really does plug in everything from toes to nose. It's a classic, it's a ViPR classic. When you go on a course, when you look on social media, it's one of the first things you see is a ViPR lunge and uppercut. It's what everyone looks for. So what does the lunge and uppercut actually do? Well, when we think about the nature of the lunge and uppercut and we break it into its two constituent parts, we first think about the lunge. Well, lunge is obviously a great lower body exercise. It's great for balance, it's great for coordination, and it's great for mobility as well as building strength through the front side, the back side of the legs, the hips, the calves. We're getting mobility from all the way from the feet to the ankles to the knees and hips as well. So as far as the lower body is concerned and that part of the movement, it's a real bang for your buck exercise. What do we get with the uppercut, this top half of the movement? If we look at the uppercut just on its own, we're looking at taking it in its classic format from the hip to the opposite side shoulder. So because we're taking it from one side of the body across to the other side of the body, we're getting that rotational demand. So we're getting lots of great rotation through the spine, which is great for spinal mobility, but also mimics what we have to do and how we move our upper body in everyday life. It really does connect the core unit to the upper torso with the shoulders and the shoulder blades as well. As we think about this uppercut movement, with one side we're looking at driving, we're looking at working anterior strength and we're exploding through the anterior, whilst on the other side we're having to work and pull through the posterior side. So we're getting all this amazing kind of what we might term cross sling action. Now, when we put the two together, traditionally, we see the movement as when I'm starting on my right hip here, and I'm going to step forwards with my left foot. So again, I'm getting that right arm drive with that left foot drive, which again mimics loads of stuff in everyday life, including when we walk. When we walk, if I place my left foot in front, it's my right hand that swings forward to counteract and to help momentum and everything else, and help efficiency when I walk or when I run or when I do plenty of activities in sport and everyday life as well. Even if I'm thinking about bending down to pick something up in front of me, I'm less likely to bend down this way. I'm more likely to be able to get a better movement and better use of my body when I go opposite to opposite. So it really is great at kind of feeding in function, feeding in strength to that function to help us live everyday healthy lives. But it's also fantastic exercise because it's whole body. It's going to get a massive burn on too. You're going to get that metabolic burn if you're going for long periods of time or up in your intensity, and you're going to get a great strength output if you start to work on the weights, the holds, the leverages that we can use with the ViPR. So that's the lunge and uppercut as a movement. And what we're going to do today is we're going to explore different ways that you can work on the lunge and uppercut so that it really does suit your members. It suits your clients' needs and it is more functional for the person in front of you. Function is only as good as the person that is working on that function. So we need to be aware and we need to have some ideas and some more tools in our toolbox when it relates to every single movement we do in the gym. And today, it's all about the lunge uppercut. So let's begin exploring our lunge uppercut by firstly talking about weight. We know with ViPR that we have everything from 2 kg all the way up to 20 kg. And I've got a selection of 4, 6, 8, 10 and a 16 sitting here as well. Now, we know with ViPR, it's more about movement quality and kind of trying to find that blend of demand versus quality. So when I'm selecting the right weight for a lunge uppercut for myself, if I was to pick the 4 kg, the purple, and I was to go through it, I feel like I'm getting something out of it. Maybe if I'm looking for a bit of vitality or a bit of reconditioning, really focusing on the movement rather than the load of the ViPR and the mass and momentum that I can get going with it, I might pick the 4. But for me, to really start to, as we know with ViPR, we like to integrate that mass and momentum. We like to help drive it, because if we drive it, we've then got to control it. And therefore, for me to get some demand and to try and work on that blend between demand and movement quality, I need to go up through the weights a little. So if I started to now pick up the 8 kg, I'm feeling a little bit more momentum. I'm having to control that on the way down from the lunge. I'm feeling a little bit more load, which actually is also helping me as well. It's making me a little more efficient, but it's also, as we like to train smart. We like to train, not drain, but we've still got to put some demand through the body. So the 8 kg might be a better weight than the 4 kg. But likewise, if I was to go up to 16 kilograms and think about trying to perform 40 to 60 seconds of work, then after a period of time, the movement quality and the speed and the rhythm of the movement and my range of movement may start to deteriorate from what I want to do and what I want to achieve. So it might be that the 16 kg is just too far for me right now. So we're always looking at that demand and movement quality, and we look at the other variables that are available to us, which we're going to explore today, in order to make more of that particular exercise, being the lunge uppercut. Having said that, don't be afraid to use the heavier weights if you're looking at maybe 5 to 10 seconds of work, maybe just a few really good quality, strength-orientated repetitions. Then why not look at trying to move with movement quality, but larger loads? Don't be afraid to go big, but just make sure that when you're selecting your weight, it matches the intensity that you're trying to do, and it matches the variables that you've also put in place for your client. So now let's look at, with the lunge and uppercut, let's look at breaking the movement down a little bit. So if I'm thinking about a strategy, I've got a client who's never used ViPR before, and I want them to be able to use the lunge and uppercut. I know for them, it's going to be a great movement for balance and for a little bit of upper body strength. So I'm thinking, okay, the lunge uppercut is a really good exercise for this person. So how would I teach this to begin with? Now, this gives us options, and this gives us a way of actually starting to diversify the exercise. So what I could start by doing is just keeping the weight on my hip and get a few lunges going. Once I'm comfortable with the lunge starting in that position, I can start to build the movement up. I don't have to go whole body integrated straight away. We can start by isolating. So I can start here, then do the uppercut, and then return. And you know what? By working this way, I get to be really specific with my length and depth of my lunge, with my direction of my lunge. And I also get to be really specific with then the movement quality of the uppercut. So it is actually a really good exercise regardless of the level of client and how experienced they are at the particular movement, by breaking down the exercise into its parts and then building it back to the fully integrated version. We can obviously start to think about, well, that now becomes 2 slightly different exercises, and it takes my client on a journey from A to B. So far, we've only looked at the